So there's this movement that is happening in the UK about censorship, and they're starting to do this law, and it's already passed, where they're forcing companies are forcing Google, Facebook, Twitter, all of the social media companies to verify ID in order to protect the children, so they cannot log in social media if they're under 16. What this means, it sounds great, it sounds amazing, but it really means that there's going to be a digital ID. And this is something that the UK government has tried to pass many times. Many times it has got rejected. Nobody wants that. And they finally passed a law that they managed to go under the rug, managed to get master billions as a law in the UK. So this can be the death of the free internet in the West, which is extremely sad to see. You see the same attempts in Canada, you see the same attempts in other countries. With chat control in Europe, you also see it as well. It didn't pass at the moment. They're trying to make it pass in any way and any mean possible. I don't understand how this happened. The way it works, okay, is that if you're under 16, they are gonna check your phone. Okay, they're gonna check your pictures. They're gonna check, take screenshots of your phone. They're gonna see what keys you press, and it's a very dangerous thing, because what this means is that if you do not want this to happen, you need to give your ID to the UK government and say, "Hey, this is me." Which at the same time, it also means that all your social media, they're gonna know who you are, and for people who are naive, this is like, okay, yeah, for sure, the government is just gonna stop checking my phone, and it doesn't really matter, no. But first, you cannot trust the government to do that, because they can definitely just keep watching your phone and not telling you anything. The second thing that can happen is that because you have an ID attached to your social media, that means that anything you tweet, anything you post on Instagram, anything you post on Threads, on any of those platforms, on Reddit, they're gonna know who you are. And it's as simple as just inputting your username, and they know your name, they know where you live, they know your passport, your driving license, they know everything from about you. Now, if you're not familiar with authoritarian governments, that means that if you say something against the government, they can just look your username and go to your door, and you're in jail. That's exactly how it works. There is this thing called Operación Tuntun, Operation Knock Knock, the translation in Venezuela, where if you talk badly about the government, they will take you to jail. And this is entirely possible, and this is so simple to do now with these controls that the UK government is adding. So they sell it as an idea for children, but they can definitely do whatever they want with it. They can just add a new law later. And there is already a law passed in the UK where they say, okay, if you do like hateful speech, you're going to jail. But again, when you have laws that are defined in loose terms, when you would define things in loose terms, the governments just do whatever they want with that, and it's very arbitrary. If you say, so for example, I don't like this politician, fuck this politician, well, that means that that politician can also just send a team to your house because you're being hateful against him. So what is the line? Where is the definition of when can they do something, and when can do the other? That's the end point is that us as people, we can't just draw the line, and that's a line that is arbitrarily set by the government. So it is extremely dangerous. To me, it is the death of the free internet. To me, it is the death of everything that every community, every rebellion community, everything that the humanity needs is essentially gone. Because this is from the right-wing perspective, and from the left-wing perspective, this is bad for everyone. Because let's say that you're from the left wing, or let's say that you're a minority, or you're a trans person, and you have this thing, or you have a community where you're discussing your problems, and you say like, hey, I have the HRT vaccines, and I'm trying to get access to that. That is something that you do. But for example, if you say, well, the NHS takes forever, or the NHS is very bad at this, or they don't really care about us, that itself can be something that can be attributed and say like, hey, you're complaining about the government, and this is going to happen to you. Or let's say that there's a change of government, and there's someone like Trump goes into office, and now you have essentially, when you go to a Reddit community, or when you go to a Twitter community, you have a database of people that you don't like. Or if you have an immigrant community in the UK, that means that you have a deportation list. And there's so many things that can go wrong from the left side and to the right side, because the left is also censoring what's happening with what happening in the Belfast protests, what happened in Sheffield, what happened in all these places that, well, the left just points at it and say, hey, well, this is very bad, and they point at Elon Musk and say that Elon Musk is inciting these things because he refuses to take them down the platform. But at the same time, is it really freedom of speech if the government can just take out any video that they don't like because they say, okay, this is a inflammatory, this is a provocateur video? Well, it is something that happened. It is out in the news, and if you try to delete it, you're covering it up. So that's also part of censorship, and that's also part of free speech. So what do you think would happen in a country where you record something and the government doesn't like it? You see what I mean? So with this, they actually have control of your camera as you are recording. They have control of that as it goes into your photo carousel. So it is extremely dangerous. You can see how if you have something that is against the government, or something that can be considered hateful, or something that can be considered to be inciting to violence, which is again very arbitrary from any point of view, then that means that you have, well, this mass surveillance. And the UK government also announced that there's going to be an AI police now. So you can imagine how bad it can go with false positives. Maybe you just take a picture, you're talking with your partner, you're getting, like with in this thing, and you send like a selfie, like showing something, and then you're suddenly in a blacklist, and you're suddenly going to get a visit by someone. The other thing that can happen with all of this is that you don't know who has access to all these pictures that they're taking from your phone. So even if it's not an AI, there can be someone looking at the pictures in your phone, and they can just definitely use a screenshot, and then your nudes are out in the open and you don't know, or your documents are out in the open. Or if you take a picture of your passport, then now someone has a picture of your passport and you don't know why, and that can be used for scamming. So you can see there is a very slippery slope in this thing of how many things can go bad. And there's even UK charities that are dedicated to, well, protecting children. They're against this measure, and every VPN organization is saying, hey, this is not going to happen. And part of the side effects that can happen with this is, for example, it already happened that Signal said, before that happens, we're going to pull our services from the UK, because Signal is a messaging platform that they advertise themselves as the privacy focused platform. And yeah, they're pulling out of the UK, and that can happen with essentially any service. Reddit can say, hey, I'm gonna pull out of the UK. Meta can say, I'm gonna pull Instagram and Facebook out of the UK. Google can say, I'm gonna pull YouTube out of the UK. And that can by itself can be a very bad thing. But I think, if you ask me, all of these applications should be doing that, so no other country follows that. Because it is a violation to every privacy right that we can have. The cherry on top is that this is not even needed, because there is already measures that parents can use in order to protect their children. They can, in the screen time, they can set a password to how much time they have per day in different apps. They can select what apps they use and what apps they can't. So this is the government stepping in as if they were a parent, while the ultimate responsibility of where your children uses their phone and what applications they use and what websites they visit is their parents. And the UK government is just doing this thing that's overriding the parents' responsibility on and doing this. And in the end, that's all. And this is, again, my opinion, that it's all bullshit, because the parents can already do all these things that the UK government wants to do. And the thing is that these platforms, Apple and Google with Android, they have told the UK government, and they've discussed it, and it's like, hey, you know that this is entirely possible. You don't really need these measures. But the UK government does it anyway, because it's not about protection, really. It's all about the control. And to me, it's so obvious when you know all the measures that can be done